Gold, as you likely know, has been on a very strong move to the upside in the last several months and even last year or so. We've seen a really bullish market on gold, and today we're going to talk a little bit about my personal opinion, my own technical analysis on gold, and talking about where I potentially see it going. Stay tuned, let's go ahead and dive into the video right now. Hey traders, welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you don't know me already, my name is Nick, and I share all sorts of Forex related content here on YouTube for free. And I ask that if my content is helpful to you, make sure you take a moment to subscribe to the channel down below and give this video a thumbs up if it is helpful and you would like to see more videos like this, technical analysis breakdowns on gold or the pound or other major currency pairs. We could definitely do that again in the future. So today we're going to be talking about gold, and I'm going to be talking about a little bit more of my long-term outlook on gold, as well as kind of recapping on what we have been talking about here on the channel about on gold for the last kind of several weeks. So what we said historically, we'll start out with just a little bit of talking about what we had been thinking about gold. We actually called a few different moves in the gold market. Now, the first one that we called was this first initial pullback here on gold. We talked about the idea that as price started to make a series of lower lows, that we were in the context of what was turning into a downward market. For example, when we saw this lower high, this was the first sign to me that we had some short-term bearishness coming into the market. Well, you might say, well, why is this important to what is currently going on in the market? Well, this is how I'm predicting, or how I'm potentially finding the next moves on gold and making those series of predictions based on showing you guys examples of how I've done it in the past. So when we saw this downward movement, when we saw the continuation down, there was a key thing that I was looking for. A lot of times people were shorting the market all the way up on gold, saying that this is the top and this is the top and this is the top. People trying to sell into this market were getting beat up because the market was not doing that. The market was not stopping, and there was no real clear signs of reversal. When I'm looking at gold, if I'm going to be looking for the reversal or the continuation, I want to see some signs to see that price is showing a potential to move in the direction that I'm looking to get in. Right now, I'm not always looking for confirmation in all of my trading, but when it comes to gold, that is something that I personally look to see pretty sharply, because gold is one of those things. Gold can trend for a very long time, and a lot of times people, they think gold is too high or too overbought or too oversold, and they end up getting themselves in a lot of trouble because they put a big position on and they look to try and reverse the market. People all along the way here on gold, and if you're one of them, I'm not picking on you, I'm just telling you that this is probably what most people were trying to do along the way, is people trying to sell, and getting hurt along the way because they were fighting that really strong upward trend that we've seen on gold. This has been a really good bullish market for people who are invested or trading in gold, right? For people who have been long, this has been a fantastic year, and it looks like it still has room to run. So I'm going to get into that a little bit, but again, when we were talking about this downward motion, when we saw this pullback, let me show you guys what I saw that gave me the indication. And you can go back in some of our older videos and check this out. We talked about the fact that when we had this lower high here, we had the potential to see a continued downward move. In fact, another thing we saw broken, which was key, was this downward or upward trend line. Right? So we were watching this trend line. If you go back in the channel, we talked about this trend line probably 20 times on all the different daily analysis posts and videos on gold that I did. We were talking about this trend line as kind of the line in the sand for this bull rally, right? Well, when price had this lower high here and it broke underneath, this retest of the trend line was the first time that I was, you know what, here's a good point or a good potential sign of downward continuation. Now, it didn't drop from the heavens all the way back down, but it did actually start a series of downward movements on the gold market. You can see we did get a nice little counter trend, and from there price did make a nice little movement to the downside. Now, it wasn't massive and it wasn't huge, but that is also because we're in the context of, remember, we're above that 200 period SMA, and we are in the context of a massive bullish trend here, and so trying to fight that can be a very dangerous game. Now, the next major call that we made on gold before the current now is we talked about this channel and how respected it really was, right? right? Sellers here, sellers here, sellers here, sellers here. And then on the bottom side, we had bottom people buying along the lows, a lot of buying demand in this channel. Now, this is mostly kind of indecisive. This is kind of just consolidation in the context of a bullish trend. We are again we are actually over that 200 period SMA, which I use as kind of a long-term trend indicator. This is the 200-day. So we'll put in quotations or parentheses here that this is the daily chart. And so we had this kind of downward market. We have this consolidation, if you will. Well, then all of a sudden, what do we have change? Well, what we said on the live streams, as well as one of my videos on gold, we talked about the idea that if price decides to break and close above this channel convincingly, then we could see a move back to the 1550 level, which was up here right at the recent highs. Now, I'm going to be fully transparent and tell you a losing idea that I had on gold in just a moment. But the idea here was basically that as price broke out, there was a lot of demand. We were in the context of, again, that strong momentum to the upside, and the price continued to pick up all the way back up to that 1550 move. So if you caught that trade, that was a beautiful little trend continuation. You could see there was not even any red days there. We had completely just green movement up to that level, hit the price, hit the target, and it was just, a very nice trade there. However, then what I went on to say in gold is I talked about the idea that, well, this is probably a stretched move here and that we could probably see some pullback here at the top. So I was calling a potential idea for a double top, and we didn't actually get that play out. So I was incorrect about this one. So full transparency, I'm not correct all the time, and I don't think that any trader is. But the idea here is that we actually shot right through that level. And now, as we talk about current prices, we can talk a little bit about what's going on right now. Right now, if we draw a little bit of a Fibonacci retracement here, what we see happening on gold is we have from the low of this move here to the high of this move here, the pullback to the 38.2 right now seems to be holding. Now you might say, well, Nick, is that a buy? Is it time to buy this support zone? And I'm going to tell you that my personal opinion, again, make your own trading decisions, but my personal opinion is that no, this is not a time to buy, and I'll tell you why. I could be wrong about this. We could see gold continue to shoot to the upside, but let me tell you why I personally am not interested in buying gold, even though there's a pretty decent technical looking setup, right? We have this recent high, which broke bullish, showing the idea that we are, we're pulling back to an area of demand. What was resistance, what was supply became demand. And so the idea here is we also have this little bullish pin bar. You can see if I zoom in a little bit, we'll be able to see that better. On the current price movements, you can see right here, we have this kind of bullish looking bar here, and we have seen some continuation to the upside. But let me tell you why I'm personally not super interested in buying gold right now. Although we are in the strong upward market, although things are really, really moving to the upside, and my overall case on gold has been and remains bullish, I do not want to be buying at these levels because they seem a bit stretched to me. So I do believe that markets can get overbought and they can get oversold. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be like outright shorting gold here, but what I am going to be looking for is a deeper pullback to a less kind of overbought, in my opinion, area of support. Now, again, I could be completely wrong and price can continue to the upside. I'm not necessarily shorting gold, but if I'm looking to get involved on gold, what I would be personally interested in would be a bigger pullback to something like the 61.8. Okay, so what we have is we have that fib from low to high. I think a lot of people are likely watching this Fibonacci retracement, and I like the idea of a deeper pullback. So, let some more bears come into this market and push price down to where we could find a nice little continuation trade there on gold. Now, that's just one short-term trade idea that I have, but let's talk a little bit longer term about gold. Now, again, we are trading above the 200 period SMA. We are quite stretched away from the 200 period SMA, and I don't think that it's necessarily out of the question that we could see price start to retrace to this level here, that 200 period SMA, which is again a longer term trend indicator. From there, we could actually see a very healthy pullback continuation, and that might take some time. We could still see that 61.8 level actually come into play, but it would take some time to get back to that level. And if we do see that, that might be an area where I'm very interested in looking to get long on gold again, although right now I do not have any positions. But real quick, let's talk about the bearish case. If you're a bear on gold, what would I personally be looking for in order to be interested in shorting or selling gold here near the highs? Well, again, I'm going to be very cautious because that is counter trend on the daily daily chart, we do have a very strong upward gold market right now, so I'd be very picky about any short trades that I took. But let me show you what that would entail. Something like this. So we just had this high, we had this movement to the upside. If we saw this pullback turn into, we saw some sort of shoot up, but then we started to see a series of lower highs, well, that to me could be a strong counter trend idea. Okay, so what that would entail would be if we start to see this market shoot back up and then form a lower high and confirm that, that to me might be an idea to look for some short selling opportunities. Now again, this is my own trading analysis and I don't assume that you're gonna be making any decisions based off this, but you should take into consideration some of this analysis and combine it with your own. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you should be able to make your own trading decisions. If you don't have a trading plan, do not trade. It's not worth it. You're just gonna lose money if you're just guessing or you're just looking for somebody to tell you what you should do. Guys, I hope you got something out of today's video. Make sure you give that video a thumbs up down below and also subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we will see you back next time.